Welcome to 21st Century Health. I'm Jackie Bales. In the pharmaceutical industry, antibiotic resistance, or the survival of bacteria against an antibiotic, is a big concern in the development of new medicine. So big, in fact, that there's been a continued decline in the number of newly approved drugs as a direct result. Well, here to discuss a topical solution that has seen positive results that may even restore the efficacy of old classes of drugs is Steve Keogh, founder and CEO of Pharmacline. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Jackie. Great to be here.
Steve, why is antibiotic resistance growing at such an alarming rate?
Well, there are two reasons, Jackie. Over the last decades, there's been so many more people worldwide that have had access to pharmaceuticals and particularly antibiotics. The good and the bad, though. The bad side of that is that there have been a lot more folks who have maybe misused those antibiotics, either the dose or the duration, or maybe not have had them prescribed properly. So that has given the bugs or the pathogens, the bacteria, a chance to really figure out how these pharmaceuticals work and figure out resistance profiles. And the other reason is that a lot of these antibiotics have been administered systemically, either orally or IV, which really is often not the safest way from an antibiotic resistance profiling way of administering the drugs.
So the bugs have evolved to defeat us, basically.
Absolutely, you bet.
How can Pharmacline contribute to decreasing this resistance?
We do it two ways. One is that we have an innovative drug delivery formulation that can take even the old class of pharmaceuticals and revive their efficacy. And the way we do that is that the delivery system is able to take these pharmaceuticals through the tissue, through the cell walls of pathogens, and deposit it very efficiently right inside the cells in the cytoplasm. The other piece to our solution is that we have both a mechanical as well as a pharmaceutical kill capability against these bacteria. So by doing those two types of techniques, it really creates tremendous obstacles that will take millions of years to evolve around. So we think that's going to hold.
Well, now that we understand a little bit about antibiotic resistance, let's see Pharmacline's solution in this 21st Century Health Field Report.
Antibiotic resistance takes place when bacteria transform in a way that reduces or eliminates the effectiveness of the drug being used to treat it. Pharmacline provides an innovative site-specific topical drug delivery system to help solve this problem. Resistant strains of bacteria have created a worldwide crisis. Pharmacline's solutions bring back effective treatments to cease the infection from spreading and for faster recovery. Pharmacline's technology enables drugs that are no longer commonly used due to resistance issues, reviving old drugs and restoring them to their original efficacy. One common resistant strain of bacteria is methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, or better known as MRSA. Other than Pharmacline's topical ointment, there is only one other solution. The medication is given in a high dose intravenously and is not always reliable. Pharmacline brings a topical over-the-counter solution that kills the top 12 bacterial pathogens in the U.S. and worldwide, including MRSA and other resistant strains. Pharmacline has the solution to your skin infections. Their products prevent serious pathogens from infecting minor cuts, scrapes, and burns, preventing infection from spreading, healing wounds, and saving lives. For 21st Century Health, I'm Steve Michaels reporting.
Steve, tell me a little bit more about this problem of antibiotic drug resistance.
It's a very serious problem, and you hear about it anecdotally, but the fact of the matter is that there's antibiotic resistance at alarming rates in our communities and communities in other countries. And a lot of this resistance occurs among populations that we would consider vulnerable. So populations who are slow healers, who are immunocompromised, such as people in nursing homes, assisted care facilities, and of course hospitals.
Or like diabetic people that are slow healers?
Yes, indeed.
One of the things that I find fascinating is that you're talking about bringing back these older classes of drugs and using them again. The bugs haven't outwitted these yet, I guess. That's remarkable.
No, they have not. And for example, we're taking tetracycline from before either of us were born.
Oh, I remember the name.
Yes. We're able to take that old class of drug that at one time was extraordinarily effective. It was a miracle drug in its own right. But then over the years, it developed a resistance profile out in the communities. We're able to take that old pharmaceutical and combine it with our drug delivery carrier system, and between the two of them, we end up with extraordinary results that are so effective against the broad spectrum range of pathogens in the United States.
As we saw in the field report, I mean, the results are just remarkable.
Yes, and that was astounding, but it's representative of the results that we're seeing across the board.
How does your technology work exactly?
Well, there are several different simultaneous, what we call mechanisms of action that are occurring. First, when we deliver the product to the site of an infection, let's say it's right here, we'll put a little bit of the medication on there. The first thing that occurs is we put the pathogen in a mechanical stress. And what that does, it effectively makes the pathogens resistance, or their shields, they drop their shields.
Wow.
So we're able to do that mechanically to make it more difficult for resistance to occur over time. Once we do that, at the same time, we're having a chemical carrier take the active pharmaceutical right through the cell wall, which is normally the location in these pathogens where the resistance occurs. So we're efficiently and effectively taking that drug right through the cell wall, depositing it right in the middle of the cytoplasm where the nucleic acid is, right in the pathogen, and starting that kill process. At the same time, another mechanism of action is occurring, that if this is the location of the bacterial infection, the product diffuses out around where you've put it. We have actually applied it. It actually diffuses out and creates a barrier zone, a protective zone. We call it the zone of inhibition, that further prevents the spread of that disease at that location while it's being killed.
Wow.
And finally, there's an emollient effect or a soothing effect for the tissue that this carrier has. So it's a mighty bundle in a small, efficient, elegant package.
How is it possible that your technology and your products are effective where others are not?
When we first designed this product, the entry parameters were to keep it simple, to reduce potential allergic response, and not just in the States, the United States, but worldwide. Another requirement was to only choose ingredients that are already on the approved list of inactive agents in the United States over-the-counter FDA listings, as well as foreign equivalents. So the simple answer is that we designed it in a simple way. But the fact is, it is able to combine those mechanisms of action that I've talked about, both chemical and mechanical or structural, that really make it difficult for the bugs to overcome this and eventually develop resistance. Those features plus this nice diffusing zone of inhibition, it's just not out there in any other products. And we were just fortunate to be able to discover this.
Wow. And I would assume that because you're using those older antibiotics, they're basically available in generic form, so it's cheaper?
Yes. We do feel we have a charter to get this out to the people of the United States and the world, and that's an important design parameter for us. They're not expensive medications. We could certainly deliver expensive ones in other applications, but for these basic worldwide topical skin infections, we think we have something that can be very available at not too steep a cost worldwide.
Remarkable. You know, there are so many different resistances to current antibiotics out there. For what medical indications or diseases do you have solutions? For instance, does this work on MRSA? Does this work on flesh-eating bacteria?
Well, you know, you speak of flesh-eating bacteria, and there's a motivation that I have here. We all have stories, and wherever I go, people come up to me and tell me their own story. But one is mine, where in the 1990s, I had a young daughter, and she's now grown up, fortunately. And she developed a flesh-eating bacteria in her foot.
Ooh.
She was wearing flip-flops at a public amusement park and gained access through a little sore. Well, fortunately, in the 1990s, after several medications didn't work, vancomycin was available. That's the effective drug for her is now no longer effective for other people. That's how fast these evolutionary processes can occur, very fast. It is a very good drug for a lot of purposes, but at this point, that's an example of what's happened.
And again, your formulations are complex, or how would you describe them?
Well, even though our formulations are patent protected, I have to say they're elegantly simple. And they're designed, again, to be simple so that they will be most widely tolerated by the most people. We don't have complex industrial chemicals that are used in some antiseptics. We don't use multiple antibiotics that are commonly used to create the generic triple antibiotic products that are out there. Instead, we use one active ingredient and very well-tolerated inactive ingredients to achieve these results. And the results allow us to be so adaptable to various pharmaceutical active agents that we believe that we're able to set back this clock of drug resistance by decades.
Decades.
Yes.
And I mean, it seems obvious, but why is that so important to set that back by decades?
Well, when you look at how the world is combating antibiotic drug resistance, in fact, we are currently in the year of 2011, the year of antibiotic drug resistance at the World Health Organization.
Oh, really?
It just kicked off in April of 2011. So there are many organizations worldwide, and to mention one, World Health Organization, another one is the Infectious Disease Society of America, that have put out calls for years now that we need more drugs and more effective antibiotic drugs. But the problem is time and money. Simply stated, to create one of these traditional antibiotic products, the time is measured in years and decades rather than days and months. The money to do these sort of drugs, to create them and develop them and improve them, is measured in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Sure.
And frankly, our world society just doesn't have that type of time and money available. And what we do have throughout our global communities should be used on other pressing issues, of which there are no shortage.
Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Let's go over the list, Steve, of products that are available now, or when will products be available?
Initially, we're providing the first aid antimicrobial type of products. Then we will be providing dermatology products because our technology works very well for acne indications, eczema, psoriasis, and even rosacea. Then we will do a release in the surgical area. We found that either as a perioperative wash, so a pre-operation wash on the skin, as well as deep wounds that are infected, we have a product in mind that would probably use tobramycin sulfate rather than tetracycline, for example. And that's a very effective aminoglycoside in deep wound, pathogen-laden type injuries. So we're very excited about those 3 launches coming up.
Wow. And how will people be able to obtain your products?
People will be able to obtain our products from our integrated corporate and product websites initially. And then we'll also have a vibrant force of folks working with the healthcare providers, so they'll be able to get product through the healthcare providers. And then finally, we'll also make available different size and different types of packaging available through the retail sales, such as pharmacies, food stores, hardware stores.
So over the counter?
Yes, over the counter. This is all over-the-counter listed technology.
What kinds of users do you believe could most benefit from your products?
Families, for sure. There's no shortage of encounters with pathogens that people and families have these days.
That's for sure.
Whether it's the health clubs or whether it's sporting events or just working around the yard. So families for sure. And then also we're looking very closely at providing help to those people who just can't afford to miss a day of work. And whether that's a manual worker, for example, a roofer or an agricultural worker, people who are using their hands or their feet, and that might be more likely to have extremity injuries. So that's an important group of people. So there's a large swath of our population, and in fact, other populations, where this will be very helpful to them.
It sounds like it really would apply to anyone.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Do you see your company expanding outside the United States?
Yes, we do. And it's a natural function, but we'll start with this hemisphere, particularly the Spanish-speaking populations. We'll be reaching out to them early in this process. There's a natural overlap of of potential users in those groups from our early launches. Then we'll be reaching out with both over-the-counter as well as prescription products throughout other countries. Many of the countries have similar OTC or self-care regulations that our products fit well into, as well as different prescription requirements for the same reasons that we've talked about.
Where do you see Pharmacline headed in the future? It seems like you are doing so many things on so many fronts. What do you foresee, say, 5 years down the road?
Well, it's very exciting, and in 2011 we received an award from the governor of South Dakota for some of our efforts, and that was very important to us.
Wow.
We are a South Dakota company, and it was a recognition external to the company that if we stay close to our mission statement, which is saving lives, healing wounds, and preventing the spread of disease, that alone, plus some thoughtful product development to meet the unmet needs of humans around the world, if we do those things well and stick to our knitting, as my grandmother used to say, we'll do just fine.
Well, Steve, it's remarkable to me that Pharmacline seems to be defeating these drug-resistant bacteria that we've been fighting for so long, as well as speeding up healing. So thank you so much for sharing your innovation with us.
Thank you for having me.